So why are we here? Why are we here at Tushita this morning? That's an interesting question. We may be here for different reasons, and that's okay. I'm sure none of us are here for any negative reason. When a thief goes to the bank to rob the bank, that's an unwholesome reason, obviously. Most people go for a neutral reason, just to withdraw money. Some people might go to a bank even for a very wholesome reason, thinking, oh, by going to the bank and smiling at some people or talking to the guard who I know is a bit unhappy or lonely fellow, I'm going to, say hello to the guard or to the cashier or to one of the workers and make their life a bit happier for 5 seconds or more even, then that would be a positive motivation. That would be a very, in addition to, maybe drawing out your own money or whatever work you have to do. Or maybe one day you go to the bank without any need to do your own work. You simply want to say hello to someone or out of friendliness. So I'm just saying that there are many different motivations that different people could have for going to the bank. And there are many different motivations we could have for coming to Tushita. There could be many. You may be bored at home. It may be just a habit, a reflex. Or it could be you had a fight with someone at home. You want to get out of the home and go somewhere. And Tushita is kind of peaceful and quiet. That's okay. You may like the biscuits at Tushita, I don't know. You might like just the ambiance, the pictures, the peaceful atmosphere. You might like the library, whatever. However, the kind of motivation we're working to, and of course, for the people online, similar. There may be many motivations for joining in. In the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism, which is you could say the lineage, the teachings of Lord Buddha that emphasize compassion, which emphasize service towards others, that emphasizes recognizing dukkha, pain, suffering, sorrow of everybody, including ourselves, and wishing to free them from it. So in that tradition, that lineage, that parampara, to use a traditional Indian word, which denotes a sacred tradition coming from realized people, not manufactured by just a clever person or by a artificial intelligence, but this comes from realized beings. So in that parampara, a good motivation, a wholesome motivation would be like this, that yes, I have problems, I have difficulties, physical, mental, whatever. But so do other people. Other people outnumber me. So although I'm important, very important, my happiness alone is not the only thing that is important. What about other people? And what about the incredible, you could say, ocean of suffering, which even if you're half awake, you can notice in the world? Suffering of people, men, women, children, the suffering of animals, suffering of insects, suffering of fish, everything, birds. And if you can look at it this way, also the suffering of nature, the destruction, the desecration, the pollution of nature, of the earth, the water, of the air. So looking at that, which is something real, I'm not making this up, This is something we can all witness, experience, study up. So in that situation, what would make the most sense, do you think? To simply say, oh, I have to protect myself from this challenging, suffering world and my own suffering? Or should I join together with other people and try and be of benefit to others, to the planet as well? What makes most sense? Should I hide in my own little bubble, my own cave, my own room, as though my happiness were the only important thing, my security? Or do you think one could embrace a wider world? This is the question. I'm not going to give any simple answer. There is no simple answer. But of course, the motivation that we are encouraged to develop in Mahayana Buddhism certainly suggests that we have the potential to open our mind, our heart, very, very wide, much wider than we could imagine right now, maybe. Meaning, right now we might feel very close to, of course, oneself and to a few friends, family, maybe brother, sister, partner, children, niece, nephews, whatever. But beyond that, not much feeling, not much connection with wider world. And we also may be influenced a little bit or even a lot by information that we get about other people, other countries, which may make us feel that somehow they are not good, they are not, they're not worthy of my attention or my kindness, my concern. In fact, I don't like them, even though I may never have met any of these people, but due to the information and the natural inclination of the human mind to be a little bit, what one teacher has called tribalist, tribal in the sense of clubbing together with our own kind, people of our own color, caste, creed, mohalla, etc., etc. Due to that, we tend to easily, don't we, create a situation of us over here and them somewhere over there. And somehow I have to stick to the rules and the sense of connection with this group, and the other group is either to be ignored or to be protected against, or even, regarded as some kind of enemy. So the motivation here is, can we open our heart and mind so wide that we stop seeing these artificial differences and can see the commonality? What is common? So if I were to ask you, and you can answer mentally, we won't have a discussion just yet, and I'll give you a few moments to think about this on your own. What would you say everybody in this room and online and in India and the world, human beings and animals, what do we all have in common? What do you think? What do you feel? Let's spend a few moments on this. What do we all have in common? I mean, everybody, whether it's the person you hate the most or the person you love the most, what do they all have in common? And don't say they have 2 arms and 2 legs and a head, because some people may be missing an arm or a leg. And some creatures have many legs. So when His Holiness the Dalai Lama first used to go to the West in the early 70s to teach, tour and teach, apparently he would start many of his discourses, sometimes to the most academic and most, I don't know, you could say sophisticated, well-educated audiences. He would always start by saying that, we're all brother human beings, and I feel like I'm meeting old friends when I see you. Plus, he would always say, all of us want happiness, we don't want suffering. All of us want happiness and we don't want suffering. This may seem very simple, but it's a very vast statement. Anyway, this is something we've been examining. So that's one thing we have in common. The other thing we have in common, if we have a mind, a consciousness, so this applies to the smallest of creatures or insects or whatever, and the borderline is hard to discern, but from that up to ourselves and the largest whale in the ocean, all of these beings have consciousness. And so from a Buddhist perspective, if we have consciousness, then we have the potential at some point in time to become fully awakened beings, which means we have the ability to become what we call Buddha, Buddh, awake, fully awake, samyak sambodhi, full and completely awake. Buddh is from the Sanskrit apparently, meaning to be awake, to wake. Bodhi is enlightenment, awakening. So according to Lord Buddha, we all have, even a scorpion or a whale or your worst enemy, we all have the Buddha nature, the seed of Buddha in our minds. Isn't that an extraordinary statement? It may be nonsense, we don't know, but it's an amazing thing to say, no? My mother, my father, my friend, my enemy, the person I don't like, the person I don't know well, the stranger, the rabbit, the snake, the mosquito, the crocodile, Vladimir Putin, Joe Biden, everybody has Buddha nature. Is that not something interesting to hear? Which means we all have the potential to, you see what it means is this, we have the potential to let go of all of our troublesome, unwholesome, destructive qualities, and the potential to develop to their utmost wisdom, love, compassion, tolerance, patience, generosity, you name it, concentration. We have the ability to fully manifest all these qualities. That's what it means to be a Buddha, in a few words. Of course, it's something can't be described in words alone. So we were talking about motivation, weren't we? So if we were to come to this place with that kind of motivation, that would be something, right? that not only are we all wanting happiness and not wanting suffering, but every single being can wake up completely and become a Buddha. So then, and of course, the other thing is that right now, at this moment, there are very, very few people we know who are probably awakened and who are living happily or contentedly. Most people have many problems. And if we look out of our cars, then of course or as we walk, we can see people who obviously have some more problems than we do, simply in terms of basic survival, right? And then we read in the paper, or probably not so much now, we see on our smartphones and screens how there is a war going on, many little wars, but one big war going on in the world. Tens of thousands have died there. More will die. No big political or other effort to stop the war. Many people seem to be benefiting from it. Some people anyway. So when we see that, what do we think? Probably not a lot, because we have many other things to think about. Lots of distractions, many other channels we can turn to. 50 years ago, maybe one channel on the TV. Now, I don't know. Plus all the other things you have access to. If you want to just look at some books or something, kitabein hai, no problem. So like that, you see, it's very hard to even want to pay attention to the difficulties or suffering in the world. We feel, why should I think about that? I want to think about something nice. I want to watch a nice program, a comedy, romantic comedy. Romedy, they call it something, romedy. So we have comedy, romedy, thriller, you name it. Check on Netflix there or whatever. There are many genres, many kinds of things we can watch, many kinds of news. So really the mind becomes a bit jaded, like we were eating very rich five-star food every day, and then we go home and someone offers us good wholesome khichdi. We don't want it. It tastes awful. We want something tasty. Anyway, my point is, it takes some effort. Effort, and what shall I say? I was going to say moral courage, but I don't really mean that. It takes some, let's say effort, some willingness to experiment with thinking about how much people and animals are suffering and how much I am suffering, my difficulty, rather than ignoring them, pretending they're not there. So anyway, Mahayana Buddhism is focusing on how it is possible for a human being to develop the qualities that will enable that person to help others and free them, show them the path, and inspire them to be freed from all of their pain, completely. So can we think of others, at least mentally? Of course, we cannot do this physically, but can we think of others as a guest? And we could say it's a very stormy, windy, cold day, and the guest didn't come out of the house with any proper clothing or raincoat or umbrella, and the guest, who happens to be your friend, arrives at your door. So what do? You're so happy to be able to provide some refuge, some care to your friend, right? You can provide some warmth, you can provide some warm food and drink. They can, you give them a towel, they can become dry. You can give them some dry clothes to wear. You can give them, maybe they had quite a traumatic experience also, with the traffic or with something or with other people misbehaving, whatever. And they come to your door in quite a wretched state. They're cold, they're shivering. They may be developing a fever, And you want to help them because they're your friend. You really feel for that person. You want to provide for them. And you say, look, whatever you need, you take, if you need to rest, you rest. What can I offer you? What can I do for you? So Mahayana Buddhism, and of course, not just Mahayana Buddhism, maybe other people as well are saying, look, other people are like, most beings are like a thirsty person, well, like this person coming in from the rain, or another example, a very thirsty person who's actually dying of thirst, walking around in the desert. They got lost in the desert. They didn't have proper instructions, and they were foolish. They left the beaten track. They ignored the advice given to them. Now they're wandering around in circles because they get disoriented in the desert and in the sun. There's no familiar landmarks, no Starbucks or Kentucky Fried Chicken or any other landmarks. So they're going around and around in circles in the desert, getting more and more sick, tired, thirsty. There is an oasis, but they don't know the way. They don't know the way. So if you were to come across someone like that, walking around in circles in the desert, and you know which way to go, how to help them, you would help them, right? So this is the situation. Beings are like that traveler in the rain, or like somebody going round in circles in the desert, about to die of thirst. So how wonderful if we could be of benefit to them. Because the traveler in the desert, they may die within a few hours or day, but you see, all of us are going to die. It's not as though we are any different. We're just like that person in the desert, actually. We're going around in circles, according to Lord Buddha, following ignorance, anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, competitiveness, doubt. All of that is making us go round and round and round. And it's a very vicious circle. Keeps on fueling itself without end. So don't think we're any different from those travelers. Actually, we are just the same. And worse, because we have been going round and round in the desert and in the rain for, since beginningless time, according to the Buddha. Time without beginning. So this is quite mind-boggling. We begin to think about it seriously. But anyway, the point is, the question we started with was, why are we here? Why are we here at Tushita? So we could be here knowing all these things that I've mentioned and wanting to make our life meaningful for ourselves and others. Or, and this is also fine, we may just need a little bit more peace in our life. There's too much tamasha, too much high, too much conflict. We want some peace. That's good, that's fine, of course. Good enough. So we may have, checked, surfed the internet, and we find Tushita, and through some combination of causes, conditions, we say, okay, I'll go there today. And we turn up. And someone like me keeps on talking, so you're wondering what's going on. The thought for today in one of these books, which has a thought for each day. So April the 2nd, in this particular book, says something very useful, which we need to bear in mind if we're going to make time here at Tushita useful and meaningful for ourselves and others, now and long term. We need to reflect on what is said here, which I will read. It's just 6 or 7 lines. Just as a writer learns the spontaneous freedom of expression only after years of often painstaking study, and just as the simple grace of a dancer is achieved only after enormous patient effort, so when you begin to understand where meditation will lead you, then you will approach it as the greatest endeavor, task of your life. One that demands of you the deepest perseverance, enthusiasm, intelligence, and discipline. तो मतलब टाइम पास का सवाल नहीं है कि चलो थोड़ा ध्यान किया जाए, let's pass the time. It's actually could be much more than that. Usually when we have time to spare, we get impatient, we fidget. If somebody is late by 10, 15 minutes, we get upset. We don't know what to do. Well, of course we know what to do. We look at our smartphones. But it looks like what all of the sages of India and Tibet, and I'm sure other countries as well, are saying is that we need to develop this inner effort, inner wisdom, not just smart, outer smartness, smartphone, smart city, smart highway, smart clothes. That's maybe has its place, but no substitute for inner wisdom, inner love and compassion. And that takes time. That takes some time and effort. So motivation is of critical importance. Motivation meaning why? Why am I doing this? What's the purpose? Everything starts with motivation. Whether you're starting a startup, a business, you want to, I don't know, start a local football team, whatever you want to do, it starts with the intention, the motivation, the intention. So it's something to consider. Not right now only, but as we get up each morning and as we live our life. Why am I living my life? We could begin to ask these questions. I know somebody who was my best friend. Until the age of 10, he was my best friend. And it seems that for that person, the most important thing in life began to be making a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, you can't imagine how much money. But that person landed in jail due to, maybe having put too much meaning and reliance on money and status. I still love that person very much. He's a very good friend. I want that person to be happy. But yeah, that seems like they made a big mistake. So why would someone be so interested in so much money, so much power, status, fame? Why? There could be many answers. One could be that where the priorities, our intention has not been very clear. And we want to be happy, we don't want to suffer, right? So we think status, money, fame will bring happiness. So spend the next few minutes quietly reflecting on what you think, what you feel, and if possible from experience also, what actually brings some contentment and happiness in life. Apart from, of course, money and food and, getting good marks at school, getting a promotion, of course, these are also there. But what really brings deep happiness and contentment? So please reflect on this. This will be our motivation and our silent period. So try to keep the awareness on this topic. When the mind wanders, try to bring it back gently. And sometimes you can just spend a few moments also to relax the mind, just being aware of the breath, your natural breathing, and you can relax, especially as you breathe out, relaxing with your out breath. And then you come back to the topic. So this is a kind of analytical meditation, but we'll combine it. You can combine it with some breath awareness because you might get tired just reflecting or thinking. But reflecting and thinking in this way is also very, very good. It's analytical meditation. And it can really help clarify certain things for us. It's very helpful. So taking that question, from my experience or what I've seen in the world, what would make people really happy and contented? And what appears to do that, but is actually not enough? Also from your own experience. So we'll reflect together for about 10 minutes, and you can take a break in the middle if you need to just stretch briefly. And you can also use the breath very usefully, especially the process of breathing out can be very calming and relaxing. But be careful you don't get sleepy. So check now and again that the mind is awake and alert and not getting caught up in a pleasant kind of drowsy semi-sleep, because that's not so useful here. We want to be very alert, very awake, as well as relaxed. So we want both. We need both to be relaxed, no high, but alert. Crystal clear, if possible. Okay? So we sit together for a while. So you can see, reflecting like this is not easy because the mind does its own thing, right? It wants to think about something else or disengage, or sleepiness can come, or so many things can intrude on consciousness, old memories, plans for today, the future, so many things. So it requires some effort, doesn't it? Some attention to recognize when the mind gets distracted and to come back to the topic, which sometimes we may completely forget what we're supposed to be reflecting on. And then if we try to reflect on the breath, and again, not that simple, although the instruction is very simple. And the breath is not really a mystery. We've been breathing in and out since we were born, but still it's not easy, is it, to follow? Because the mind is used to distraction. भटकता रहता है दिमाग, लगता है कभी कभी कि वो एक काम है मन का, काम ही भटकना है, यहाँ से वहाँ कूदना, भूखे बंदर जैसे एक डाली से दूसरे डाली तक कूद रहा है, या पागल हाथी जैसे. Somebody sent a video today, a video of a big elephant and its child stuck in the mud somewhere in Africa, and the effort it takes to pull them out. So sometimes I feel we're a bit like an elephant, gets stuck in the mud of something, attachment, or anger, resentment, envy, फंस जाते हैं, पूरी तरह से फंस जाते हैं, अपने आप निकल भी नहीं सकते हैं, खींचना पड़ता है दूसरों को भी, लगता है अपने बल से, अपने शक्ति से निकल नहीं सकते हैं. Anyway, we can have some discussion. If you wish. Otherwise, I'm very happy to engage in my style of meditation, semi-sleep, occasional wakefulness. But let's have discussion, it would be good. We have half an hour or a bit more. Discussion either based on motivation or the question we asked for the analytical meditation. Let me just say briefly for beginners also, and as a reminder, what we mean by meditation in this tradition. It's not about going into trance. It's not about being able to stop thinking for hours on end necessarily. That may be one kind of practice, but here by meditation, we mean habituating the mind to what is wholesome, something wholesome. Taking a wholesome object and keeping that in mind and not being distracted. What is a wholesome object? Love, compassion, anything to do with deep wisdom, but also topics like death can be very wholesome if reflected on in the right way. Even death and impermanence become very wholesome objects because they help us to understand our situation and help us to perhaps stop wasting our life. So even death and how things are changing moment by moment, that's very useful meditation. Or we can reflect on the preciousness of our human life, the opportunity as a human. That's also involves thinking. It's a very useful habituation. मतलब एक अच्छा आदत दिलवा रहे हैं मन में. Thinking about it, habituating. the mind to that, getting used to that, getting used to how causes and effect, how cause and effect works, according to Lord Buddha. Karam or karam phal, wo kya hai? That's useful to think about. And dukkha, suffering. Suffering is also useful to think about, reflect on very deeply. Suffering, dukkha. That's where the Buddha started. After his enlightenment experience, Buddha didn't decide to start a WhatsApp group talking about bliss of enlightenment. Of course, he didn't even want to teach initially because he thought what he had discovered was too deep. He didn't want to waste his or other people's time on something no one was going to understand. Anyway, but he was persuaded, and what he thought was the best way to start was to talk about dukkha, suffering, pain, sorrow. This we can relate to, right? A good doctor has to talk to the patient in a way the patient can understand. The doctor is not going to talk high-level, physiology or deep biology to a patient who just needs relief. You can read some extraordinary articles online about different medicines, chemicals, diseases, so detailed that you need to, be studying medicine and be quite advanced to understand them. But there's no point talking to a beginner about that. The patient in the doctor's consulting room wants to be helped with a disease or a pain. So this is what the Buddha is doing for us. He's talking about basic pain and how we can be free of suffering. So we need to reflect on what he means by suffering. This is also a good, wholesome object, although we may run away from it in the beginning. Some households, you mention death and you get, dant padta hai, you get scolded. Maut ke baare mein kya baat hai? Especially if there are young people at the table. No one wants to talk about death. But in Buddhism, it's a wholesome object because at some point, all of us have to face that, or somebody else's death. And how are we going to help them as they are dying, or when they die, after they die? How can we help? Can we help? All these things, we can reflect on. That's a wholesome object. That's a good object. So meditation is getting used to or habituating the mind to what is wholesome. It is also a pure and complete awareness without any kind of clinging or grasping or attachment. That's another definition, very elevated definition of a higher kind of meditation, beyond thought even, beyond concepts. Pure and complete awareness without clinging. It's like a bright, vast, open sky without any clouds, radiant with sunshine. Just an example. It's a bit like that. Vast, pure and complete awareness without clinging. In some kinds of meditation, like death meditation, or talking about suffering, then we try to understand that topic. But in meditations on love and compassion, we actually try to make our mind oneness with love and compassion through reflecting on it. In the death meditation, we're not trying to die, right? We're just reflecting on death. But in the love meditation, we're trying to become loving. So there are different kinds of meditation. In some, we are analyzing and looking at it and using it to change our life. Hopefully, in others, we actually want to bathe the mind, pickle the mind in that quality, like compassion or wisdom. We want to be wise, be loving, be compassionate. So meditation helps us become that quality. There may be other ways of talking about meditation. Those are the main ones. And of course, there are many divisions, many kinds of meditation. There's meditation where we make the mind so amazingly focused, man ko itna kendrit kiya jata hai, that we can focus on an object of our choice, for hours on end, and the mind does not become sleepy, does not get distracted to anything else. Just for hours and hours, we can just be on whatever we want to. Itna, so much control we have over the mind. And that meditation can be very powerful, very useful to stabilize the mind, make it very clear. But it's then used in Buddhism to meditate, focus on wisdom. It's not used for its own sake, because it can make the mind very peaceful, very stable for eons, for centuries. But that's not so useful. It is not liberating us. Yeah, for liberation, we need wisdom. So many different kinds of meditation. And some people get addicted to the meditation where you feel happy and blissful, good feeling in the body and mind. Well, that's okay, but it's not going to liberate you. It's not going to free you from death. It's not going to free you from potential unwholesome rebirth. It's not going to protect you from getting angry when you come out of the meditation. While you're in the meditation, very nice. But then if someone distracts you and disturbs your meditation, you may get angry at them. So then what's the point of meditation if we still keep on getting angry, getting jealous? You know, we can only meditate for half an hour. The other person meditates for 1 hour. We become envious of them. Yeah, that's useless. But it happens. इनके पास ये सिद्धि और रिद्धि है, मेरे पास यही है. वो 6 इंच लेविटेट कर सकते हैं, मैं खाली 3 इंच लेविटेट कर सकता हूँ, तो वो भी एक मामला हो जाता है. So that's ridiculous. That is so foolish. That is not spiritual. That is not spirituality. That's not inner work. That is kind of stupid inner kind of athletics, which is meaningless actually. Birds can fly much higher than 3 or 6 inches, right? So you want to be a bird, you be a bird, you know. Or get in an airplane. So you see, we have to avoid nonsense, spiritual nonsense, what we call spiritual materialism. It just becomes another kind of commodity, another kind of competitiveness. Okay, again, talking too much. I asked for your comments or feedback. Anybody here at Tushita first? First preference to those who made the effort to come to Tushita in person. And by the way, everyone looks like a person here. They can't detect any AI features. Everybody seems to be moving and smiling normally or frowning normally, not like the AI so far. But of course, they're working on making it so that we don't know the difference. I wonder if any of you are working on that research. I'll still be your friend even if you are, but yeah, I'll be a bit more careful. Haji, nobody here at Tushita wants to say anything? So anybody online? अजीब जी, आप भी कुछ बताइए. आप इतना दूर ऑस्ट्रेलिया से भाग ले रहे हैं, तो आप थोड़ा सा रोशनी डालिए इस पर. बहुत से जवान लोग हैं यहाँ. थोड़ा जोर से बोलिएगा. ऑस्ट्रेलिया से बोल रहे हैं आप. हाँ, अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा अपने को. If you can. No, maybe the technology there is not good enough. या इस तरफ से तो मैंने परमिशन दिया है अनम्यूट करने के लिए. Okay, we'll wait till Ajir ji is enabled. Anybody else? ये राजेश कौन है? राजेश बोध गया वाले राजेश या कोई और हैं? You can't rely on people online, no?
This is Anil Bhavnani.
अपना शक्ल नहीं दिखाते हैं या अनम्यूट नहीं कर सकते हैं अपने को ये क्या बात है अनिल जी you're saying something
Yeah, this is Anil Bhavnani. I wanted to ask in terms of having a sense of purpose. So, yeah. So when you wake up in the morning, one of the things that comes to my mind is how do we kind of reinforce a sense of purpose and walk through our day? So how can we do that in a meaningful way?
You tell me, from what I've said so far, what do you think? Of course, first you have to, you see, some people are not very good at waking up in the morning. We have to say this also. For me, it's easy. For some people, they're just not at the moment morning people, right? As we have that expression, morning person, evening person. Also depends what time you went to bed and also, many other factors, right? But it helps to splash your face with water and drink some water. And if you're that sort of person, to relieve your bowels. But of course, as soon as you wake up, some people need to freshen up first before they can think anything meaningful. Everyone's in a haze, some people, before they do those things. But once you feel a little bit, what should we say, human, normal, then what could you think? What do you think you could reflect on?
So what one can reflect on is that what are some of the goals that you want to set for yourself for the day, because there's certain activities that you do on a regular basis. And then also from a bigger picture perspective, how you can help people during the course of the day.
Right.
So I think these two things, if one can think of and go through the day, I think it's good for yourself and for the others.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I write things down because there's quite a few things to be done that day in terms of actual things to be done, emails to write, things to do, people to contact. That can be quite a long list. And unless I write them down, I very easily forget. But then, as you say, long term, what is my purpose anyway for getting up and making that list? What's the purpose of going through the day? And not only today, what's the purpose of living this life? So there could be overall sense that, what one feels one's, what is it called? Institutions have a mission statement.
Mission statement.
Mission statement, that kind of thing. What is my long-term mission statement? इस उम्र तक मैंने इतना पैसा कमाना है ताकि ये हो जाए. Or it could be, what is my long-term mission? A house in the hills or in Goa. Kya hai mera mission statement? This is something to ponder, So that's how one does it. And the mission statement part of it, the long-term goal, maybe builds up slowly. And all these things can change. But Mahayana Buddhism and many spiritual traditions have this very powerful action of actually taking certain vows in front of your teacher, or in front of the Buddha, visualized, or in a particular place which is sacred to you. You take certain vows that you're going to live your life in a certain way.
Okay.
For example, not kill, as much as possible, not kill, not steal, etc. And not only that, but like that bodhisattva attitude, I'm going to, as much as possible, not treat people generally with suspicion, but I'm going to treat them as my guest. That kind of bodhisattva idea. So one is recommended to remember these things every morning. The vows you may have taken. And if you haven't taken vows, that's okay. You can still reflect on very meaningful, you can still think, okay, today, I mean, I'm not going to be, okay, I am a suspicious person, you might say, but today I'm not going to be suspicious of everyone. I'm going to open up to a few people. And the kurewala whom I see every day doing his work, I'm going to say something nice to him today, or just say hello to him, because no one talks to him. And of course, they think he has a very dirty job and so forth. So that might be something you want to do that day as part of your overall idea that life is about being friendly rather than being defensive. It could be many things you think about in the morning.
So do you think it'll help if in the morning we meditate for some time and bring our mind together to, it'll help us through the day?
What do you think, Anilji? What does your wisdom tell you?
My wisdom tells me that I should spend some time with myself in the morning when I wake up to you know,
yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So all the traditions say. In fact, they say get up so early, if possible, that there's going to be no distractions for 2 or 3 hours. You know, get up at 3, get up at 4 if you can. That's if you go to bed early enough and don't eat too much the previous night, etc., etc. Don't go to too many parties or pubs before you come home, you know.
Yeah.
But then
The reason why the reason why I asked this question was because I struggle in the morning, you know, in terms of having a sense of purpose and going through my day. And obviously, as the day progresses, I get into the you know, into the flow of it. But it's just the morning time that I really struggle with myself, and my mind wanders a lot.
You just check your routine from that kind of wisdom tradition, Ayurvedic perspective about eating, drinking, what you do before going to bed. But also, I find very useful having a book or two near my bedside that I find very inspiring. To open it up and read something that can be very inspiring. Doesn't have to be a Buddhist book, by the way, but something inspiring or something beautiful. That can be very helpful, just reading a few lines. Because often we read something and we're really moved by it, touched by it, but then we put it down and then we forget about it. But it can be useful to remember it every day or very, very regularly. Something which has been said or written very beautifully, you know, whatever, and which means something to you. Or it could be a picture, an illustration, or a teacher. A photo of a teacher, or I keep a photo of which I find very moving, of refugees from Afghanistan who I think were photographed living in Greece maybe. And there's something about the photo, about those 3, 4 young people and their faces that is very meaningful for me every time I look at it. It's like, and the caption I can't remember right now, but it's like, you know, they survived the war, but, you know, what kind of what next, you know, what next for those young people? So it could be anything. It could be a picture of an animal, you know, animals. So that can be useful. And don't surround yourself with ugliness. Surround yourself with beauty as much as you can. Which doesn't mean you need to be in a 5-star place, but just have some beauty around. Have a plant not too far away, you know, something living like that. If you have a pet, I'm sure that could be very useful. Do you have a pet?
No, I don't have a pet.
No, neither do I. It's not essential, but it can be. And by the way, the pet shops now are amazing. If you look in a pet shop, it's like, wow, the dog has more choice of food and stuff than I have, you know. Snacks. Oh, Haldiram ka baap hai, all those pet shops, you know, it's amazing. So, but if, pet can be useful, scientifically proven that just stroking a pet can bring down one's own blood pressure and anxiety and the pet's within seconds. So, be kind to animals, man, you know.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe these things can help. Or sometimes a recording of something that really has been useful for you, something. could be your teacher or teaching. There's some excellent things on YouTube which are short. Problem with YouTube or something is then you can want to watch something else on YouTube and then half the day is gone, right? Because YouTube is fascinating. But there are some short, good things on YouTube from highly realized masters. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Anilji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? I think we have time. I'm lucky I don't have a lawn to mow or a car to wash. So these are things that take up a lot of people's time. I know in England, maybe not in India, because somebody else washes your car. I don't have a big, thick Sunday newspaper, but yeah, there are some good articles in today's newspaper, but I'm not in a big hurry to read them. I already read the astrology column, so that's the main thing for me. I'm joking, but yeah, it's quite important. Not that I follow just newspaper astrology. So the motivation is the main thing. Even if your astrology says it's going to be a terrible day for you, well, the day is what we make of it also, isn't it? Not just what falls on your head or what your landlord says to you, but it's how you deal with whatever happens. So our mind is more powerful than the stars. In fact, according to Buddhism, our mind, collective karma, creates this universe. It creates the universe, not God, not Brahma or anyone else. Collective karma and consciousness create universes. So think about that. That's a bit mind-boggling. There's no kind of person or thing up there which keeps on creating universes. It's our mind and action. Mental action, physical action, verbal action creates the universe, according to Buddhism. Think about that. That is a very interesting statement, no? So did anyone have an answer about what brings long-term happiness and contentment? A partial answer? Final answers are difficult and dangerous, possibly. Then we think, I know the answer. And then we try and convert everyone else. Jhagda hone lagta hai. My answer is better than your answer. होता है ना? अजीर जी, कैसे हैं? You have nice sunlight where you are. It's mid-afternoon, is it, in Australia? Late afternoon? In Melbourne? नहीं सुनाई पड़ रहा है भाई साहब, आप क्या कर रहे हैं? कोई नहीं, कुछ होगा मामला. But I have certainly allowed everyone. Is there some problem? Hold on. No. Can somebody else say something? Otherwise, it's obvious the mistake is from my side. Sujit ji, can you speak?
Yes, Kabir ji.
Yeah, okay. So Ajir ji, आपकी तरफ से कोई दिक्कत? Anyway, anybody want to say anything? Rajesh ji, you are in Bodh Gaya. Hello. हाँ जी, आप स्तूपा गार्डन में हैं क्या? कुछ बोलो, बोलिए. बंद करूंगा अब Zoom. परेशान करते हैं ये लोग. कोई नहीं. Any questions? You're a beginner. For Tushita. Please speak up. Huh? What is it? Young people don't speak up these days. I was just
thinking about some of the questions you had.
One
is similarities between animals. One is that. The other is what is the basis for long-term happiness.
So what are the similarities, do you think, that we all share?
Apart from the basic that we both have, life and
Hmm.
I'm not very sure if the feelings of compassion or love really exist within all creatures. There's no sound basis or proofs for that.
For all beings possessing love and compassion, you're saying. Mm-hmm.
But I would like to think that that's the case. And there is a strong feeling of togetherness in animals also, at least among their.
Right. Right. Strong feeling of togetherness. Okay.
So
right.
I was thinking in that direction.
Hmm. And from your own experience, what do you think gives lasting happiness?
I think there's just some thought that because I've thought about this in the past also. There's no one particular thing that I could, put my finger at that this is what will give me lasting happiness. But I feel that happiness could be the basis of many others.
Okay, I'll put the question another way. Do you have a mother who's alive?
Yes.
What makes her happy? Do you ever make her happy? And how? Or your father or somebody?
I think my parents basically feel happy.
No, वो नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ. How do you make them happy?
Simply
if ever.
Simply by being myself.
Simply by being yourself. There. Okay, that's good. No, you don't have to do anything. Subah उठ गए, and it makes your parents happy to serve you and say, "Beta, जग गए, आ जाओ, बैठो." That's great. उंगली नहीं उठाना है आपको. How wonderful. That's very good. Are there any people you have to make some effort to make happy? Have you had experience of that?
Yeah, I have to perform at my job.
Perform? क्या आप बंदर हैं कि perform करने पड़ता?
To
dancing bear.
To achieve my, KPIs.
What?
Like key performance indicators at job. If I'm able to deliver on the projects. Yes. So I think that is how my manager has seen it.
That makes your boss happy. Okay, temporarily until you make a mistake, then he's unhappy.
Yes.
Right. So what makes people lastingly happy, you think? Or any examples outside of your office?
I think just being
example, not in general.
Yeah.
I'm not asking theory, लेकिन कोई example है?
Tipping the waiter maybe.
Huh?
That makes them happy.
Tipping the waiter, yeah. That makes them happy.
Being nice to the waiter, not just kidding.
Being nice to the waiter.
Being polite with them.
That's difficult.
Most difficult.
Yesterday, I was with someone who was very strict. They showed at least 8, 6, 7 things the restaurant and the waiter were doing wrong. But it was also correct because there were some deficiencies from the side of the restaurant. But this person really.
But again, how you also convey that to the.
Yes, exactly. How you convey it. Exactly. It was done pretty politely.
I did that once. After that, the whole restaurant was hovering around me.
Yeah.
Somebody bringing me soup, somebody bringing me coffee, somebody bringing me. It's very interesting. No, the way I put it across to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And to make oneself happy long term, how do you think one can do that? And not just happy in the superficial sense, but a deep sense of contentment, fulfillment. वो कहाँ से मिलेगा?
What is your purpose in life? Can provide.
Somebody saying something? Yeah.
Having a purpose in life can provide long-term happiness and contentment. And if I am able to achieve that.
Yes, yes. Do you think the purpose, for example, some very rich people have the purpose to set up a colony on the moon or Mars even. Do you think that's in this category of long-term fulfillment, deep fulfillment? Aha, giving Guruji hot water is definitely a cause of lasting happiness. धीरे धीरे सीख रहे हैं लोग. Yeah. So I can hear you now. You're laughing, Ajirji. Yeah.
Yeah, I switched to my phone from the computer, from the laptop.
Ah,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah, ठीक किया आपने. So, okay, you can have a purpose, but what kind of purpose? This is the thing. Okay. What kind of purpose gives lasting happiness? You might have a purpose. You want to be the richest person in F block in horse cars, which would be quite difficult because there's a lot of very rich people in horse cars. But you might want to, I don't know, whatever.
Purpose which is very inclusive. Inclusive purpose.
What purpose?
Inclusive of all the humanity.
All the humanity. Well, that's a huge task. What would come up with that? You want to be some kind of Bill Gates type person or
George Soros.
provide something to everybody and make a lot of money on the side. Yes.
Can we come to the question?
Can you what?
Can we come to the question that you first raised when you told us this?
Yeah, sure. Whatever question you want.
So why are we like chasing riches and fame? So I think that the I is afraid to die. The I, like when I think of myself as a separate being, that is afraid to die. And it thinks that the only way to like deal with impermanence of death to become rich, famous. But like you said, so it's like momentary happiness, like that 15 seconds of dopamine you get from, let's say, eating sugar.
Someone being strangled or something. Murga kaat rahe hain. Galat baat hai. Ek minute. Sorry.
So yeah, so doing something that we're addicted to, let's say, or chasing pleasure, momentary pleasure.
Yeah.
So I think one way of dealing with that is that like there are two answers to that, I guess. So extending that I to everyone. Like if I think of myself as you, I, everyone else, or everything else also. Seeing universe as an expression of myself, like a non-sentient expression, like Alan Watts used to say that I am the universe's way of experiencing itself. All of this like beauty would be waste if we like do not experience it. We are part of it in a way. We're not separate from the one, from the universe.
Okay.
Either that, like I'm everything or everyone, I'm in everyone, like that dog, like that hen that we, like that chicken that we kill for our 15 seconds of taste, I guess that dopamine that we get. Or in a way we could, like Buddha said, non-self or shunyata, emptiness, like we're nothing. So that equates.
We're nothing.
That we're nothing.
We're nothing? I feel like I'm something. This hot water feels like something. It's not delicious coffee or tea, but it's something.
But there's something in the emptiness also, like you said.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is great, that the more we feel less, that we are some kind of separate, totally separate ego, separate from others and the world, the more we think that, the more we suffer. And the less we think that, or the less we feel that, the more we feel connected interconnected with everything, then the happier we are. Is that what you're saying? Hmm. That makes some sense to me, yeah. Made some sense to Buddha, it seems. That's what.
There are only two ways of dissolving the ego. Like talk about ego dissolution.
Ego, yeah.
You become everything for everyone, or you become nothing.
Well, I don't know if you're misunderstanding emptiness, but emptiness means lack of any independent, inherent existence. So that very definition suggests that we are connected. We are dependently connected with others, with the elements, with everything, you know, with the sun and the moon and the stars. So when we realize that and act on that premise, then there is harmony, natural harmony and fulfillment, because that's what we are. And when we're only working for me, then that is out of touch with reality, because there is no real independently existing solid me. Which may sound very strange to people hearing that for the first time, but there is no independent, solid me.
So, like you were saying, like,
can you speak up, sir?
So when I'm talking about nothing, so like you were saying that we want to become compassionate, we want to do these things. So what if we become that thing? What if we become compassion itself?
Right.
What if we become, we're not a lover, but we become love itself?
Yeah.
So that's the flow state, like you were talking about.
Right.
Like we're in a state of flow. We are
Yeah,
that,
that's
like,
right.
In the Eastern philosophy, Tao, we're that.
Right.
Moving with flow.
Yeah.
We're like water.
There are some beings I believe that I've met who are just flowing from that pure love and compassion all the time. Of course, they're doing different things. They're eating, they're going to the toilet, they're talking, they're doing lots of things, but I feel that is where they're coming from all the time. Which doesn't mean they're smiling all the time at all, because they're also wise. Some people they may be, you know, getting quite wrathful with. But yeah, I think I've met people who are embodiments of that love and compassion, not just occasionally in meditation or something. So it's like what the great sage Krishnamurti says, it's experience without an experiencer, awareness without an edge, without a centralizing point, no central headquarters. Don't need central headquarters. Central headquarters is a myth. It's being built up needlessly. It just gets in the way, actually, central headquarters. But we feel you need central headquarters, you know. I have to make sure I'm okay, I'm, you know, doing the right thing, or blah, 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 everything. We become very artificial and I think manipulative. And of course, there's no spontaneity then. Everything is very carefully measured. What we do and say is very measured to produce a certain effect to keep me secure and in a position of, if possible, control, power, security, etc., etc. And that's seems to be a very limited way to live. But of course, if you act spontaneously in certain circumstances, people will they'll arrest you. You might want to sing a song or play an instrument on the metro. And I haven't heard that on the metro for a long time. We used to hear it a lot on the London Underground, sometimes on the metro in Delhi, but they stopped all that. No one wants to be spontaneous. Well, I mean, you don't need to be, right? You have your smartphone. You don't need to create music. It's all being provided to us. So we don't need to sing or dance. And if we did, someone would probably complain. We even sit down in the area between the compartments. Some people might not like it. You know, you feel tired, no one's offered you a seat. आप बैठ जाएंगे वहां, बहुत कम लोग बैठते हैं, पहले बैठते थे, अब वहां भी बहुत कम लोग बैठते हैं. What will other people think, you know? पढ़े लिखा आदमी अच्छे पैंट पहन के बैठ रहा है नीचे, you know. Anyway. Rajesh ji, are you awake? He looks awake, but the head is in the shade. हाँ जी, ठीक हैं? I think he is very clearly in Bodh Gaya. I think on our stupa land, one of the areas of, one of the bits of land we have there, Truth Institute, but unable to speak, it seems. Ashwin, how are you? Are you well? You can't speak either. Oh dear, what have I done? Oh yes, I remember now. When we were having that strangulation, I turned it off. Okay, boliye. Sorry.
Hi Kabir ji, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I think Rajesh ji is also there on another device.
Yeah, he's on another device now.
Hmm.
Rajesh ji, ठीक ठाक हैं? Maybe. So 1:45. Any other input? Most welcome. Especially new people, newish people. कुछ कहना है तो कहिए, घबराने की बात नहीं है. There's no such thing as, well, there is such thing as foolish questions, but I'll be very polite and not point that out. I'll say, well done, well done. Actually, yeah, foolish question might appear to me foolish, but it might not be foolish for you. So no independently foolish question. Depends. Nilasha ji?
हेलो
Hello?
हाँ गुरुजी,
आप कहाँ से बोल रहे हैं?
मैं स्तूपा न्यूलैंड से बोध गया से.
वहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं?
यहीं पर ही स्टे करने लग गया अब मैं.
अरे जीवन बढ़ाना है तो दिल्ली में आना पड़ेगा. बिहार में क्या कर रहे हैं?
बिहार में गुरुजी की सेवा, गुरुजी ने जो बोला उनका बस एडवाइस फॉलो करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ.
अच्छा, चलो. वो बीबी पहुंच गई? Hello? That made him quiet. His wife was going to join him to help. Anyway, okay. No personal questions. It could also be the connection. Rajesh ji. Anything else? Anybody? No? Okay. Ah. Someone. हाँ जी, बोलना पड़ेगा जोर से. Yeah.
So when it comes to long-term goal, for me, reaching for a long-term goal, for me, it's like working on myself or learning new things in my life. And for me, there are barriers which come between that process. For me, I used to wake up at 6, then do my stuff. But then when it comes to focusing on the whole day, things like Instagram or YouTube, like there's stuff like which come into that process and take us, makes us more weak. Like if we talk about the reels on Instagram, like if you just scroll one, you're gonna scroll for a half an hour or 1 hour, then we realize after like 1 hour that we have spent our 1 hour on wasting just scrolling the reels. So like how we can just understand, or like how we can know that we are wasting our time?
There's probably an app for that, but the main thing we say, are you checking your mind regularly? That's one main Dharma practice, is to check what is going on in our mind. In other words, what are we doing with our hands, our feet, our eyes, our mind? What am I doing? So if we check regularly, then we are self-checking. Some people might want at the centers of Thich Nhat Hanh, the late great Vietnamese master who passed away recently, or last year or whatever. In his centers, they ring a gong every whatever hour or so, whatever. They just ring the gong, a big gong. They want us to stop and mindfully come back to the present moment where you are. Your mind may have been anywhere, but you have to come back to this moment. What am I doing right now? So that can be useful. You could have something, I'm sure there's an app which can give you a gong every, very nice sounding one, every half hour, every hour, or random. You can choose some random, this many times a day, I don't know. I'm sure someone might have such an app. So that could be useful. Because yeah, you're right, one can just spend, if you're interested enough in a serial, you can binge watch it all night. And the next day you suddenly remember, oh, I have work to do today, You don't feel like, doing it, So yeah, that's the only way, that is called, mindfulness, is to bring the mind back again and again to the object. Remember the wholesome object of meditation practice, and introspection is to check the quality of that attention. Am I getting sleepy? Am I getting excited? And to adjust accordingly. So mindfulness and introspection are very important in Buddhism. And of course, mindfulness has become like Christmas. Yeah, it's become money-making thing, but it's very important. Mindfulness. But originally, mindfulness means mindfulness of smriti in Sanskrit, smriti, remembrance, remembering the virtuous or wholesome object of awareness, of meditation. That is the real meaning of mindfulness. But let's face it, a thief has to be very mindful. At night, breaking into someone's house, you have to be very mindful not to make a lot of noise. And, you have to be very intelligent and mindful. Clever. Oh, bird song. Bird song must be both there. Oh.
Yes, Guruji.
वो कौन सा चिड़िया है आपके यहाँ?
ये स्पैरो, वो छोटे वाला जो दिल्ली में डिस्पीयर हो गया है, दिल्ली में जो नहीं दिखने को मिलता।
सब बिहार चले गए क्या?
हाँ, बिहार चले गए।
हाँ, स्पैरो बहुत होते थे, गायब हो गए।
हाँ, मैं हिजोलनेस का एक दो लाइन याद करता हूँ बहुत बार, दिन में मेरे को बहुत मदद मिलता है।
बताइए, जोर से बोलिएगा।
मैं जब भी हिजोलनेस कहते हैं ना कि when हिजोलनेस says, when you love somebody, yeah, then check you are judging or not judging. If you are judging, then there is no love at all. Just like it's helped me so much, it's helped me really so many times. The judgment comes and then love disappears. That I find really helpful, just without judgment, just loving other being is so difficult sometimes, I find.
Yeah.
This really helps me a lot.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Thank you everyone.
Yeah, good. Everyone, some of your friends are here. Some people, I don't know if you know Vivek ji, maybe you know Bob. Bob
Yes,
familiar?
yes.
Bob
Yeah,
Kodan.
I know Bob. Yes, I say to everybody, I say hello to everybody.
Bob ने स्मार्टफोन से शादी कर लिया है. बहुत नजदीक रहते हैं वो. He understands, don't worry. And yeah, I don't think anyone else is here that you know. Maybe Vivek ji, do you know? Anyway, this is the assembly here. बताओ ये सब लोग नए लोग भी हैं, so you know, there's Bob at the back with the baseball cap. Okay, I think we can stop there. So we can dedicate. So at the beginning we motivated. At the end we dedicate. So if there's been anything useful, beneficial in the last couple of hours, then we think, okay, that's good. We rejoice in that. We can be happy at that. And we can think like this, that due to this positive energy or interest, any effort we have made, may that help us to become more and more open and aware, more wise. May it help us generate more loving kindness, more compassion, more insight into who I am, what I am as a human being. And may it help me develop especially a sense of deep meaning based on wisdom and compassion, so that I may be of benefit, so we may be of benefit to others as much as possible. So may we never be separated from authentic teachings and teachers. May all our teachers, especially His Holiness Dalai Lama, Shabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all the other great teachers have long and healthy lives. And may we be able to help them fulfill their wishes for us. May all of the war and conflict going on in the world be lessened and disappear. May people think of benefiting one another. So just so you can think ahead, on 6th of May, not April, 6th of May, Venerable Tenzin Priyadarshi will again, most probably, teach in Delhi. He said he will, 6th of May. 26th of April, we're still awaiting some news from the great master, His Eminence Tai Situ Rinpoche Ji. He may, we hope, teach in person at Tushita on 26th April, but no confirmation yet. So we'll carry on tomorrow Monday, 6:30 p.m. We'll carry on with introduction, you could say, to the 4 Immeasurables. So meanwhile, I hope we can all have a good, restful and meaningful Sunday. Thank you all very much for joining. You helped each one of us made everybody else's morning and afternoon in Australia meaningful. So thanks to everybody.